the making of Luke at the end of Mandalorian season 2. And it was enlightening because they hadn't revealed most of the process for that up until this point. I'll give you the high level summary. It's a 45-minute documentary just about how they did that one scene. But it's they did in fact have Mark Hamill in full costume on set doing the part. Although and then they had a body double do the same. They were like, yeah, and he looks just like Mark Hamill from Return of the Jedi. I was like, no, he doesn't. Like, not even the slightest bit. And his, I think they meant his body build was, but no, he's like much more muscular. Those dudes in the early 80s and 70s, they were really teeny, and you can't find teeny people like that anymore.
Yeah, not in Hollywood.
They talked about how they tried to marry deepfake technology with the de-aging technology, and they were just really struggling with it. Obviously, like, all of the plates of Mark Hamill in costume just look really goofy. Like, I don't think they even used that footage for reference. It doesn't even look like he looks like old, grumpy Luke Skywalker, like very fat, big jowls, not very fat, but you can't match.
He's an old man.
He's an old man. Like, it's just totally ridiculous. I mean, you'd be better off just not doing the special effect and just being like, buy into it. It's Luke.
Here's Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, exactly. But one thing I found really interesting was it sounds like Jon Favreau wanted to go down the route of deepfakes. He knew that deepfake would probably yield better results than like the Moff Tarkin thing, which was like basically an animated character.
Yeah.
Like advanced Jar Jar. But they ran into problems when, like, they were trying to find any footage of, so for people who don't know, deepfake technology is when you feed an algorithm as much footage and reference photos of somebody as possible, and then the computer tries to do a face match of that person. And the more data you give it, the more accurate theoretically it can be. But so they were going back to like archival interviews of Mark Hamill on the set of Star Wars, where he was very evenly lit, because they also want stuff of him evenly lit. And they were like, this dude looks different in like every piece of footage, and in every movie he looks different. Like, he looks pretty different in Empire, Return of the Jedi, and Star Wars, and even like scene to scene. And he's like, and as we talked to each person and as we were tweaking it, everybody had a slightly different idea of like, well, that's not Luke, that's Luke. Like, everybody had kind of I don't think he has like a very, very staple. I imagine like Robert Downey Jr. kind of looks one way. Like, but Mark Hamill, for some reason, like,
I think even Carrie Fisher was like that too.
Yeah.
Like, Carrie Fisher has kind of like an amorphous look to her.
Yeah.
Which I think the whatever animated character didn't capture.
Right. Yeah, so they struggled with it, and that's why I think it's why it looks janky. But they were even acknowledged, like Dave Filoni was acknowledging that, like, to whatever extent we don't nail it, the fact that we're doing the big faceless buildup will help sell the special effect, because the audience is going to be so excited that it's even possible that it might be him. And they knew that, you could tell, but they knew that like the audience is going to be in denial that it's going to be him. Like, first it'll be like an X-Wing, and it'll be like, could that be Luke? No, it'll be like somebody else. And then it'll be a hooded figure. Well, it could be any Jedi. And then like, they're like, even when it's the green lightsaber, they'll still not believe it. Like, they'll keep providing clues until he finally pops the hood and it's him. And even if it doesn't look great, it's like, it's definitely him. And that excitement will buy us some, tolerance. But apparently it was so under wraps. They were, cause they said like Ahsoka, Boba Fett, all that stuff leaked, and they didn't mean for it to, but Luke was the one they were really, really, really careful not to leak. And one of the ways they did that was in the script, it was Plo Koon, the Jedi.
Oh, really?
And they even did like this ridiculous animation of it being Plo Koon on the dude's head. So like the dailies they were reviewing stuff was Plo Koon. And
That's hilarious.
And they did it intentionally because Dave Filoni, I guess, notoriously loves Plo Koon. Like, it's his favorite Jedi, he's always said. And so if it did leak, fans would be like, oh, well, Filoni. Yeah, that makes sense. It's Filoni because he loves Plo Koon.
I didn't know that, and I don't know much about Plo Koon, so
They told a cute story about how well they were saying that, and this was kind of cool to hear in terms of their creative relationship, but they were like, if like Filoni or Favreau float something and it like makes sense to the other one and the other one's bought in, then they feel super good about moving forward with it. Versus like if there's some incongruence between the two of them, you know, because like doing something like, hey, let's have Luke Skywalker pop up in this thing is kind of a difficult decision, but they both felt, because they also knew, they were like, but he's also going to be like a plot device in a story that's not his. Will that work? And they had to kind of talk through that. But then Filoni was like, you know, if you get Luke, you get R2 as well. And he said like, for like Jon Favreau is normally, you know, pretty like business minded and stuff. He was like, it was the one time that Jon Favreau kind of like turned into a kid for a second. He was like, R2D2, he's gonna be in our show. Like, and he said it. He was like, we were on the set and R2D2 rolled in for his first take, and this is Jon Favreau talking. He's like, I have no idea why it made me cry, but like I started crying, and he's like, I still actually have no idea why I reacted that way. He's like, but there's something, you know, when you're a kid and you watch this stuff, like just think about how powerful that is, that it hooks you to the point that you're 50, like we were saying earlier, you're 50 years old and you see a little robot and you cry, you know?
And that's why there's a cottage industry on YouTube.
Yeah, you don't have to wonder.
Toys.
You don't have to wonder.
It's because it's playing with our chemicals.
So much so that like, yeah, so much so that they can fuck up this stuff so badly, like, you know, just like beyond record, you know, it's a comical heights, and then do it again and still be like, yeah, but here's R2D2, and then we all weep.
Well, but the thing about Mandalorian is that I think it's still good. Like,
no, it is.
And I think what you said with Jon Favreau and Filoni actually, you know, when both of their ideas resonate with each other, I think that's what makes it good. Because when, you know, like Bad Batch, when it's just like Filoni's producing whatever this is, and they just like, it feels a little soulless and thin.
Yeah, no, I mean, I imagine if you and I are working on something creative together and we're both kind of like, oh yeah, that, like, it doesn't require, if it doesn't require a lot of deliberation, if it just makes sense to the both of us at the same time, then it's like, it's all you need to move forward. And I imagine it's like that with them. Whereas, yeah, if you like, hey, run that by me again. Like, I don't quite understand. Like that, you know that you maybe don't have something fully formed.
Yeah, there's a little more effort, and it won't probably turn out well.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the partnerships are really important with creative stuff like that. For sure. I mean, I met, you know, Trey and Matt, like it seems as though Trey is, or as Matt put it, Trey is the chef. Like he's ultimately the director. He's the one putting the whole thing together. But Trey says that Matt is, you know, essential, like, to the process. Like it's not South Park if Matt's not present. So there must be something there too, you know?